What's up, Anthony?
Everything's good, man. Can't complain.
Have you had your opoids today, man? It's Happy St. Patrick's Day. I know you're from the Logan clan with the, so I pay tribute to your Irish heritage,
There you go.
and Happy St. Patrick's Day. Even though I actually did get drunk today, but I didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day. So you know, uh, I also got hit by a shillelagh, so I guess I had it coming. I called you early. I called you. I will call you later, but I am on a live stream a little later for somebody else. On I think. Do you know who Halsey English is?
I don't, but that name does sound familiar, but I'm not quite sure who that is.
So I think he's more of a libertarian type channel. So the topic is. I don't even know what the topic is. I don't know how I agreed to it. It's like my entire life has basically become like a cloudy haze or something, thanks to Governor Brown and ending the border policy. Um, yeah, it's affecting us in Ohio too. Anyway, I wanted to call in about Andy McCabe. I did watch your video earlier. Very nice one. Um, what I think is very shameful about media outlets is that they are basically acting like these FBI and CIA and NSA spooks are, defending the country and everything. But realistically, they're they're basically they're the front now for a state that is basically violating everybody's civil rights. You can see it all the time with these articles being written that are hit pieces against, the new journalism. They're not into defending the new journalism. They're not into defending the privacy rights of people who are targeted by these agencies. They're basically there to say, well, we're credible news and they're credible law enforcement. And if you don't agree with it, you can shut up and, basically sit in your basement in Montana or something. Well, I mean, that's really what they're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not even joking about it. It's disgusting. This guy, I am looking at some sources that say that he's actually pretty loaded. Um, Andy McCabe, and what I think is really the problem is how do you rebuild these agencies from there? Everybody thinks that Donald Trump can do it because they have the people that like him have confidence in him, but really you can't restore confidence across the board for an agency that's done this. You're going to get Democrats who will then say, "Well, are you trying to reform the FBI in your image, Donald Trump?" So there's really nothing you can do except for possibly, form a new agency from scratch and dissolve the FBI or something. I don't think anybody is ready to do that, and that's what's so sad about it. What do you think about that? How would you solve that issue with confidence in the intelligence agencies?
I mean, you just got to get new blood in there. That's really the bottom line because I think at this point we've seen a lot of things that have played out publicly. The whole the Strzok, what was the guy Strzok? The text that came out from him,
Yeah, Peter Strzok. Yeah.
yeah, Peter Strzok, and then the whole affair. What's her name? Lisa Page.
Hmm.
And the whole thing that came out there that's hit the media, and then James Comey flip flopping back and forth like a trout out of water. Then you got Andrew McCabe. Then you got all this Russia stuff that is leading to nowhere. A lot of these things have played out publicly. You got to clean house because these people are still there. And how are you going to have trust in the agency when the people who created the distrust are still there? They have to go. So I think that's the main thing you got to do, clean house. I think that's what Trump is doing. And hopefully he's able to get people in there that are going to be better than the predecessors because once you start anew, you don't want any kind of mishaps that are going to play out publicly. And any real mishaps, I mean, I'm not talking about the fake Russia profile. I'm talking about real things that you're able to prove.
Yeah, and the other, I saw somebody in the chat while I was listening to you say that they don't want the FBI, the CIA reformed. They want it dissolved, and I think, when Trump replaced, I don't know if you had a stream after he replaced Pompeo. Pompeo went to the State Department, obviously. He put this other lady in instead, and I have to agree to a certain extent with the chatter. I think it was BDB or something that these agencies, the real problem is that there is no accountability. Obviously, you can't have everybody know everything about your intelligence agencies, but if they're not complying with the laws, especially the FBI is a law enforcement agency, then you're going to have, in some cases, these intelligence agencies running the government from behind the curtain, and that's really what we should all fear. In this age of AI and other technological things that infringe on people's privacy.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Also, I was really. I hope that other caller that called in earlier, Les, calls again. I think he was pretty awesome. I sent you an article on Skype concerning the project I've been doing with Farrakhan Feminism. I'm having a chat on another channel tomorrow. Just My Stupid Opinion. He's a Canadian guy. Because what I want people to understand with Farrakhan is that people are getting mad over the wrong thing. Louis Farrakhan is, he has his religion and he has a right to talk in the United States and everything, but the people who are supporting him, who are in government, they all promote in many ways the opposite message in their public life. They're very often feminist. They're very often people who believe in, they're always talking about integrating colleges and integrating different corporations and things like that. Farrakhan is a racial separatist, things like that. They're always talking about tolerance of religions. Farrakhan hates the Pope, or the old Pope, the dead one, John Paul II. So he insulted him. So essentially, why do I keep harping on it? Because, and it might be kind of annoying to some of you guys, and I understand that, but there's a lot of people who make it an issue of anti-Semitism, and I'm Jewish. I don't think the issue is anti-Semitism. There's a lot of people who, they'll look at my bookshelf, they're like, yeah, Ramon, he's kind of an idiot. That's why I'm going to be anti-Semitic or something. But I'm exaggerating here, but that's not something I think that is really of the interest of everybody. But if you're talking about somebody who, if you read my article, he's been involved. His group, the Nation of Islam, was involved in the murder of Malcolm X. Unfortunately, his group was involved in the murder of 7 members of a different Muslim sect in 1974. They're called the Hanafis. They sent a group of gunmen into this house in Washington, D.C. and killed 2 women and 4 children, or 5 children. 4 of them they drowned in a bathtub. That's what that group has been associated with. Now, has Farrakhan, has he been convicted of any of that? Has he been found to be linked to those murders? In some cases, some of the people who would have known have been killed in prison or have been silenced in other ways. So we're really talking about an ethical matter. But when you see it in the media, when you see somebody like Dershowitz, anybody who knows Dershowitz, this Harvard professor who's on Fox News all the time because he's a Harvard professor and because he's a liberal and he's a Democrat and he's willing to talk against the Democrats. Well, he spins it in a way that the important issue is that Farrakhan hates Jews or whatever. I think it really is too much of they're just making it always an issue of the hate issue or things like that. When really, when you have people in the Women's March supporting somebody like this, it just doesn't fit. It's a bad fit. If you want to make Farrakhan a problem, or if you want to really talk about the problems with him, you have to talk about crimes that he's been associated with, possibly investigate them. But it's been 40 years. How can you investigate a series of murders that happened in 1974? It's the opportunity's gone for that.
The Nation of Islam, I got to cut it because I know guys in the Nation, and I'm gonna tell you this: the Nation, they're active right now in certain things that are kind of a little underhanded. Because you got all kind of people that have like their own little branches. It's kind of like, I don't want to compare it to the KKK. Somebody might get offended, but it's like that because you had one central branch, right? Farrakhan, he's based in Chicago. So that's where the central branch is in Chicago. but you have different little offshoot or affiliate groups that are in different places. Indiana, Ohio. I knew guys in Virginia that were in the nation active. The Fruit of Islam, which is like the security force. You have them all over the country, and you have them in the UK as well. There was a guy named Leo Muhammad. He was a pretty big speaker over there. I'm not quite sure what he's doing now, but they're everywhere. And these independent little cells may go out and do certain things that are not totally lawful. Some of them may not be in any kind of way unlawful at all. Some of them are like boys and girls clubs, but others may get active in different ways. So if Farrakhan is supposed to be the leader of all of this, and this is all under his watch, then he could be held accountable for all of that. But the point people make about Farrakhan is that he's like somebody that is doing retribution. He's seeking revenge against the white man. So it's okay. It's not really a big deal. But if he was white and like, let's say he's David Duke and he has a group, it's not the KKK, it's a different group. And he's the leader of it. And they have little cells all over Europe and the United States. Let's say if one person got hurt from some random group in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, he will be held responsible because he's white. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. Like, I don't care. Like, it's in our country, it's legal to be a hateful, piece of waste. But when you have somebody who's involved in that kind of shady stuff, and he's leveraging that into political power. I think that's the real issue here. And I've seen, by the way, if you look at some of these liberal people, like Dershowitz is kind of the exception, and he's still an idiot because he's saying, "Oh, I'll quit the Democratic Party if Keith Ellison gets elected chair of the Democratic Party." Well, he gets elected deputy chair. They make up a position for him. He's like, "Oh, it's okay." At least he's not chair. That at least he came out there and said something. But some of these other liberal people, they started. I saw this guy from the Atlantic, who happens to be black and Jewish, and he wrote a whole article saying, "Well, it's so great that the Nation of Islam does things for people, cleans up communities, runs away drug dealers or whatever." Fine, if you want to go down that route, you have to accept them lock, stock, and barrel, and accept their freedom of speech rights too. If you think that's so good, because normally they don't believe in freedom of speech rights for hateful people normally. If you really like, I'm not going to go down the whole rabbit hole here, but there have been other cult leaders who were black. If you know who Malachi York is, have you ever heard of him?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that guy was involved in some of the most disgusting stuff in the country. If you look at the court dockets and what he was accused of doing with children, it's unbelievable, and it was not nearly as big of a story as David Koresh and Waco and whatever. Obviously, because there was no deaths in the raid, but people are looking at that whole scandal in the wrong light. So, I hope people check out the article that I shared, and I appreciate you for giving me this platform. One last question: Did you get to see that Virginia loss last night at the NCAA, or were you interested? I couldn't watch it because it was Friday night, and we don't watch TV on Friday night. But I know you're from Virginia. Was it a big deal there, or? I know you don't live there anymore, but were you looking at the forums and were people freaking out about it?
Yeah, it was kind of a big deal. I'm in Tennessee now, but I still got some connections. UVA, that's like kind of further out. It's like Charlottesville.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a pretty big deal because who is UMBC? I never heard them before in my life, so it was kind of big.
Yeah, people said that they're used to going to the Final Four in chess.
Right, that's pretty much what that sounds like. Yeah, so that was crazy. And then the reaction from the kids talking about, well, this is like winning in Fortnite for the first time. It's like, wow, okay, this is crazy.
Well, yeah, I think it's only more evidence that the NCAA tournament is becoming kind of a joke because the teams aren't trying as hard. But I would understand if they would have lost like by 3 points, by 5 points, but it was a blowout.
Yeah,
and and by the way, Arizona as well, they also lost by a blowout earlier this week to Buffalo. And two of their guys declared for the draft in the locker room after that. So the NCAA is becoming a joke. That's why, if anybody's interested, if you click on the link to the article that was already shared, because I'm not going to bother ABL anymore, you can also find, with my name, Razor Ray, I have the plan to save the college basketball world, the NCAA. So please check that out. It can't keep going the way it is. And that's about it. Thanks for letting me come on again.
Thank you for the call, man. Definitely appreciate you.
All right. Have a good night.
Same to you.